Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a great day. Thank you so much for joining me for my Try It Out Tuesday. Today we are trying out a stamp set from the stamp market. It's called Bear Hugs. So cute. Lots and lots of sentiments in the stamp set. And I did pick up the coordinating dies. And then I also picked up this die set from the stamp market. Now this is meant to go with a stamp set. Not the Bear Hug stamp set, but another one. But I like them because I thought it'd be fun to create some neat backgrounds with it. 4 of the dies just have stitch lines, and then 3 of them will cut out some wonky looking circles, and then the stitch lines will fit on the outside of your die cut circle. So I thought it'd be fun to create a background with those stitch lines. They layer together beautifully. For the die cut circles, they'll layer on the outside of them, but the 3 stitch line circles will layer inside each other. It'll make sense when we create a background with it in a minute, but I thought it'd be great to have those in my stash. So we're going to do some stamping. I love some pandas, and I like that there's a panda and a teddy bear in the stamp set, but we're going to create a card using just the panda today. So I'm inking him up with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and we're going to stamp on some Nina 80-pound cardstock. And when I stamped the first one, the belly of my panda didn't have a solid or crisp image. So I stamped him one more time above, but the panda that I stamped on the very top has a very small ink hairline in the heart, and it was very visible when I went to color it in. So I ended up using the bottom 2 pandas. Okay, I stamped a little heart cluster, and I thought while we're at it, we'll stamp our sentiment. For my card today, I chose the sentiment here that says sending you lots of hugs. And then we are going to do a little coloring. So I'm going to zoom in. Coloring pandas is super duper easy. I'm just using my C1 marker and doing a little shading around the facial features of my panda and then also the little belly. And I skipped that first one, but later on we go back to it. But I did rosy up his cheeks with my RV11 and then blended it out with my blender pen. And then here's where I decided to use the bottom panda. But I love black and white and teal. I think it's a great color combination. And so I'm bringing in my blue-green Copic markers. I chose 3 different shades. The lightest that I already shaded in was BG11. And then I'm doing a little shading with BG18. It's the darkest shade. And then my mid-tone here is BG15. After we have the mid-tone added, we're going to go ahead and blend it all together back with the BG11. And basically, that's all the coloring we're going to do. Super fast and easy. Okay, I'm going to take the coordinating die. Oh, here, I took my black Copic marker and just crisped up that tummy of the pandas. And it worked well. I should have brought in my Misty and double stamp, but you know, hindsight. So I'm going to take the coordinating dies and die cut out my panda. And I love that when you stamp the 3 hearts, they'll die cut out separately, but the die is one piece. And that is so nice because sometimes when they're itty bitty dies, it's a little tough to line up. So that little cluster was so easy. I did take my Avery Elle Simple Sentiments die and cut out my sentiment as well. So we're going to create a panel with my double stitched rectangle die there. It's going to be about a 1/2 inch smaller than my card base all the way around. And then now we're going to create our background. I'm going to take the largest wonky circle here and die cut out a window. And then taking the 3 largest stitched circles, I'm going to layer them all together, and then we are going to tape them down and run that through the die cut machine. So there's my window, and then when I remove the stitch lines, it just has stitch detail. And I love that. I thought it created a real fun background. So we're going to cover the entire panel with the stitch circles. The largest one here will create a stitched outline around my window. So I'm going to do that. And I'll take the 3 other stitch circles, layer them together, and just place them all over the background of my panel so it's fully covered. I kept the tape on them too. It was easier for me. But I'm just filling in any open spaces And so my background panel, it's a little hard to see, but there's stitch detail all around it. I think it creates a real fun effect. So I was happy I got those. And who knows, maybe later on I will get the stamp set that goes with it. Okay, now I wanted to, since I do have a window in my panel, I thought we'd do a little bit of shading for behind the window. So I'm bringing in some Distress Oxide ink. This here is Tumble Glass, and I'm just going to use my blending brush and do a little bit of blending here. Starting off on the, we only need a little section because I just want behind the window shaded. After we have the tumble glass down, we're going to bring in some peacock feathers and do a little shading on top of that. And after I got this done, I thought that the colors were very, very similar. If I were to shade out the peacock feathers, it was pretty close to the tumble glass. So I decided to add a little more to the top area, and there wasn't very much of a color difference for me. So I'm going to bring in another color. I'm going to bring in Cracked Pistachio, and then I was happy with this. So it went from greenish blue to a light blue, and it really went well with the little hearts that we colored in. Okay, I was going to take the coordinating die and cut out the window, and I thought, you know what, we'll just cut out a small panel that will fit behind our window. That way, when you tilt it, you could see more of the color. Okay, I was planning on just attaching my background directly on my card base, and then I changed my mind. I thought, well, you know what, we'll bring in some stripes. So I trimmed down a panel using some black and white diagonal stripe pattern paper, and I'm going to place my oxide ink panel directly on my black and white stripe paper. Once that's adhered, I'm going to go ahead and tape it down to my card base. And I love the black and white with the pandas. I think they just goes great together. Okay, now I wanted my little pandas to be wonky. Since my window was wonky, I thought it'd be cute to have my pandas wonky on the inside of the window. So we're going to place one upside down on the top, and then one off to the side of the circle. I do want to leave a little bit of space because I want to stamp the sentiment in the set that says hi on the inside of that circle. But aren't they cute? Okay, there's my little hi, and it has a little itty bitty heart right next to the end of the hi. Before we stamp it, I kind of wanted to position my sentiment. The sentiment that I did die cut out with my sentiment banner die was a little too short. So I ended up restamping it and then cutting out with a longer banner die. This way I could position it a little bit better underneath my panda. I stamped a little word hi on the inside of my window, and then when I stamped my sentiment a second time, I decided to take the leftover piece of the oxide panel and then die cut out another strip with that. That way I could layer it together, and I think it just added a little bit more color underneath my sentiment. But I added foam tape behind my panel, and then we've just placed it back on its home right in the center of that diagonal stripe paper. I love the way that turned out. I'm going to add one more piece of foam tape behind both of my pandas just to raise them up a little bit higher than my stitched panel there. And then this way too I could tuck my sentiment underneath the other panda. I'm just going to trim down both the inked paper that's underneath my sentiment and then my sentiment. I think it looks so cute. Okay, now we get to add our little hearts. I'm just going to pop each one of those up with very, very small pieces of foam tape. I ended up cutting out a very small strip of the 3M foam tape to get those itty bitty hearts. But we're going to place them just around, a couple above our pandas and then some around our little sentiment. And I think that looks fun, just spreading out that teal. Now I had one heart left, and so I thought we'd stamp a sentiment on the inside of our card. I chose Just Because. So I'll ink that up with my VersaFine ink, stamp it on the very bottom. This way we can write our message on the top. And then I had that one panda with the heart that kind of smeared. So I thought, you know what, I die cut him out, and I thought we'll use them on the inside. I'll just cut off that heart. I'm going to add my little heart right next to him. And then use my scissors. We'll just trim off the mess up part. And I think it creates a real fun inside of the card. I'll just intensify his tummy a little bit more with my black Copic marker. So there's the inside. Now I wanted a little sparkle, so I'm bringing in my favorite Nuvo glitter drops. They're White Blizzard. It's a real pretty, clear, iridescent. And when you put it against the little hearts, I just love the color that it comes out with. I did a little mermaid tail with the same colors, and oh my goodness, I just love this effect. But that finishes off my card for today, guys. If you're interested in the Stamp Market's Bear Hug stamp set, well, everything I used today, I'll link it down below in case you guys want to check it out. But here you can see the close-up of those stitch details. I thought the versatility for having those in my stash was a great investment, but love the way this turned out. Thanks so much for stopping by, guys. I wish you a fantastic day, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.